All right, Jordan Mays MacArthur. I am 39 years old, and I am from Hannibal, Missouri. All right, I was young. I was about 23 years old. I was working on the road. I had graduated high school in midterm, and I had started hanging around with some people that weren't my normal people that I hung around with. They had been exposed to the drug life and exposed to a life that was full of crime and stuff, and I didn't realize what I was getting myself into or who I was around. So it was a slow beginning for me. I didn't just fall off into it. I slowly began to do things that I normally wouldn't do over time, and then it became who I was. 2008, I had found myself in Boonville prison in Missouri. I had committed some crimes. I had committed a property damage. I stole somebody's vehicle and I had destroyed it. And with that being said, I had been sentenced to 4 years in prison. And that charge was stemmed from my drug addiction. I was under the influence when I made a decision to take the vehicle that I knew wasn't mine. A lot of other factors played in. I started to steal and take things that didn't belong to me, and I could never keep a job. I would go away from my family for weeks upon end and not ever have contact with them, and knowing that they were worried and would call me, and I would blow them off, and I would just, it was all about me. I knew that one day I wouldn't have them to fall back on or support me in my addiction. I just was fighting something that I didn't realize at the time that I had no way of winning this. It was a battle that I was not able to win. I didn't know I was under a demonic influence. I didn't know that my life had become I was in bondage. That's what it was, and I didn't know that's what was going on in my life. So in the 20 years that I have been addicted to drugs, I have been in multiple relationships. I've had several children in those relationships and careers. I've had some jobs that were more than just jobs or more than just an hourly rate. They were actually careers. I made a lot of money, and they were it was very successful for a person my age to have the jobs that I've had. I was a heavy equipment operator for Chester Bross Construction. And so throughout my life, I was not able to ever stay in a relationship, and it never lasted more than 6 years. The longest I've ever lasted in a relationship was 8 years, and 4 of them years were, I would say, unhealthy to a point where I'm not sure how I even stayed, how it was a relationship. We were just living together. We weren't happy. We weren't in love. I was never able to have a true relationship with my children or my parents. There was a time in my life where my parents and me were in good relations when I was younger. They supported me. I listened to them for the most part, and I had a very nice childhood. But it was a time that when addiction took over, and I was not in control of my life anymore. I was not able to hang on to anything. I was not able to keep anything that I acquired in that addiction, or ever job or money. I was always broke. I was never satisfied, never had any joy, or change was never something that I ever thought possible. Okay, before I came to Heartland, I was actually in a recovery program called Mark Twain Behavioral Health, and I had filled out an application for CORE in Branson, Missouri, and I had got accepted, and I had done all the testing medically, and I had been approved to go. And my probation officer, I had not discussed that with her yet, what my options were. I was just worried about the violations that I had coming prior to being accepted there in detox and inpatient treatment. And I was just trying to avoid being, I was trying to go around my issue. I was in trouble. I had some violations of the probation, so I was trying to avoid the consequences like usual. Most of my life I had been trying to manipulate or the situation. I had become one of the biggest manipulators that I know of in my life because of drugs and alcohol. Never wanted to own up to what I've done or be responsible for my actions. So the biggest change in my life in Heartland was accountability for my actions here. Here at Heartland, when I first got here, I had served 7.5 months in the program before they had offered me a restart because of some behavior issues I had. I wasn't for sure that I agreed with it at first, but then as I accepted the punishment for my actions, I had realized that my probation officer was right. At the beginning of my treatment, she had offered me Heartland. She didn't offer Core. So it made me go back to think at the beginning of my program that there was something that, it was more than just me. It was some spiritual thing that had pushed me to choose Heartland, to go and start over at the beginning from when I was in rehab treatment. And Eric Tribble, when I had talked to him on the phone, had offered me a date 2 weeks out from the time that I had talked to him on the phone instead of his normal time. And something just told me that's where I need to be. And for once in my life, I went ahead and went along with what they had offered instead of what I wanted to do, and things my way. I complied with what she had offered and said, but being here at Heartland, the biggest change was being held accountable for the things that I didn't think were big issues, but it's the little things that in my life that had brought me to the biggest situations in my life. Where I would get off the hook for some things, or my parents would support me in times that I didn't need supported because of my lies and my manipulation, and I would play on their weaknesses, and that's who I become. I become that person that was poor me, and it was not my fault. It was always blame placing or putting my problems on other people or other situations instead of owning up to my own stuff. So once I come to Heartland, I had been here 30 days on October 16th, 2022, and I had decided to give my life to the Lord, surrender my life to the Lord, and be baptized in the name of the Father. I have decided to put my trust in my ways, and my trust in the Lord, and my ways to the side, and to learn His ways and lean on His understanding, not my own. And so the biggest change for me was probably going to the college course. I took a 6-month college course at Heartland Community College, and I took it on spiritual disciplines. And I learned that to being a follower of Christ, that you have to live in the Spirit, because that's what God is. He is a spirit. And to be able to know how to discipline yourself and to kill the flesh and the desires of man and myself is a big thing for me, because I have lived in the sin. I have lived in the flesh and my fleshly desires for so long. It's sometimes I don't understand or see the spiritual side of things, or the importance of what it takes to be able in relation to God, because He is a spirit. So each day is a struggle, but the thing is, I have something that of great value that I have that can lead me into them things. I have God, and He is my Lord of my life today. And before that, I didn't have a authority over sin. I didn't have a way out of sin, and He is the only way. So in the program, the beginning of the program, my life was not valuable to me. It was of no importance. I just didn't want to be in the situation I was at. I can honestly say that I know that God had brought me here. I know that this wasn't something that I had done on my own, because in the past, when my family had actually tried to get me here, I refused, and they had tried to have a meeting with me, and I refused it, and I ran, and I had some issues with that, and I was very upset with them that they had tried to intercede in my life and tell me that I had a problem. And so our relationship, we weren't on the same page. They loved me, but they really couldn't put up with me, and I really couldn't put up with myself. But that's just who I was. I had never seen myself being restored in any kind of friendship, or father and son, or mother and son, or brother and sister thing with my family. And I really, deep down inside, I wanted that bond that I used to have as a child growing up, but I just never had any way or any know-how or any idea of what I could do to restore it. And coming here and knowing the values and principles of the Bible and Christianity, I've learned that it's nothing I can do to restore something that's been broken on a spiritual level. It has to be somebody that's of the Spirit, somebody who created my spirit, and that would be God as I know Him today. My relationship with my family is being restored, and my relationship with Christ is daily is growing towards Christ, towards something that's positive and something that is life-saving. And I have never had a drug class or a drug conversation with any counselor here or any group leader, and it's wild that I spent 20 years trying to fix a problem, or a symptom of a problem that I didn't even know was a problem. That drug addiction really wasn't my problem. It was sin, and drug addiction was just a symptom of that. That addiction is something that we can't fight alone. It's not something that we are able to overcome in our own understanding or our own management. That there's nothing we can do to break that chain. That it is something that's it's a greater force. It is a demonic force that I believe is used by the enemy to be able to take us captive. And that the only way to fight this in the correct manner and to really to rid of it is through Jesus Christ. That He is the answer to the problem of addiction, and that if you can dedicate your life and you can surrender your life and your ways, that He is a God of restoration. He is a God of reconciliation, and you will see change, and you will be able to experience it in Him.